A bill from the power company with, I'm sure, plenty of excuses why my rates keep going up. Travel. For the discriminating traveler. Also for the overworked detective who never seems to have time for a vacation. Well, I can dream, can't I? Years of no new leads in the Armstrong case, and then this. Michael Clark, the sarcastic reporter, my prime suspect in the kidnapping, murdered 4 years ago? This is Michael Clark? He doesn't look anything like the journalist I interviewed. Michael, you have earned a place on my evidence board. Suzanne's hair, so conveniently left in the cabin for us to find. It was planted. I knew she was innocent. Suzanne's hair, so I knew she... The only fingerprints found on the bottle were Suzanne's. So clever. All that evidence, and yet no DNA found. The lab team found this keychain in the cabin, but they wouldn't have bothered to examine the keys once the DA shut down the investigation. The keys were just tossed in the evidence box along with everything else. It's too unusual not to demand a closer look. What do they call this? Brass knuckles? Knuckle dusters? Illegal in Massachusetts. Possession alone can lead to serious jail time. Fluffy. Daisy's plush toy. A USB key. Let's plug it into my PC and see what nasty little secret it contains. key knife. They sell them on the internet for self-protection. A key knife. They sell them on the internet for self-protection. What do we find? A capsule and a smell. Bitter almonds. Cyanide. What do we have here? A flashlight. They can also conceal knives, but in this case we have lockpicks. Help yourself, Joanna. You earned it. I've read it probably 10 times already, but I can't get enough of it. Don't know why. Maybe because it helps me sleep? I don't have time to waste on magazines. I know I have to stop printing. It's bad for the planet. Shaved off the metro beard. But I'd recognize that smug bastard anywhere. The man I interviewed 4 years ago posing as Michael Clark. This goes on the board. Maybe they needed to show the ransom to someone, to check if the serial numbers were still on record. I'll print them, and on the wall they go. Shaved off the metro beard. But I'd recognize that smug bastard anywhere. The man I interviewed. Absolutely nothing on this Cassetti. His driver's license is almost surely a fake. I know I have to stop printing. It's bad for the planet. I don't have... This tattoo is the same on both pictures. I knew it! The faces don't match at all. They are clearly two different men. I should run facial recognition on my computer. So, Ratchet's real name was Cassetti. Okay. The real Michael Clark has been dead for years. Let's see if the photo of the fake Michael Clark matches someone in the database of known criminals. I've tried this several times in the past few years, but came up empty. Maybe whoever he really is has finally made a mistake. That could be him, but he looks pretty different. Yes, he seems different at first glance, but still it's the same person.
That's it! All right.
I don't need Mr. Poirot to tell me I'm wrong. He's changed his appearance a lot. Probably had some plastic surgery on his nose, but there is no doubt it's the same person. Let's see why he was arrested. Mr. Ratchet, you didn't just steal statuettes. What recent information does the database have on you? It's so frustrating. I have a name, but I can't find anything about him. But I know just who to call.
Robot Defense League, we are monitoring this call.
Hello, Braid. Long time.
Oh, Joanna. Hey, how may I assist you?
I need you to search the dark web.
Yeah, can you narrow that down a little? Cause, it's pretty big and pretty dark out here.
Could you find intel about a Samuel Ratchet?
Samuel Ratchet. Got it. Bad dude?
They don't come worse. Send me what you find by email.
Alright, hang on. Okay. Yeah, Okay, nope. And... okay. Oh, this might be something. I gotta do a deeper dive, but you should find this interesting. Could be coincidence if I believed in them. Emailing details.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.
We're here to save mankind. Oh, it's a cookbook!
The Orient Express. I'm gonna print these tickets and put them on the board. I know I have to stop printing. It's bad for the planet. Mr. Ratchet, Mr. Ratchet, Mr. Ratchet, what recent? Mr. Ratchet, what The Orient Express departs from Istanbul next week. Interesting. I'll put it on the board. The event? Some old train. But that face, that man. These tickets were all booked by McQueen. The person traveling with Ratchet has the same last name as my district attorney during the Armstrong case? As Ratchet is alive, the dead man can only be Noah. Goodbye, Michael Clark. Hello, Samuel Ratchet, the man who stole your identity and your life. I know that face. That's John Armstrong's driver. I knew it. He's the son of my former DA. He goes on the evidence board. Hector McQueen is the son of District Attorney McQueen. Here's what Hector McQueen looks like. Hector McQueen will be on the Orient Express next week. Ratchet will be traveling on the Orient Express in a week. Foscarelli will be on the Orient Express next week. Damn, Ratchet is taking the Orient Express next week.
McQueen, the district attorney's son, is too. Foscarelli, the Armstrong chauffeur, is too. It can't be a coincidence. McQueen and Foscarelli must have decided to take revenge and will undoubtedly attack Ratchet on this train. I have to be on the Orient Express to stop them. And above all, I must stop Ratchet. But I can't do it in Istanbul because there's no extradition treaty with the United States. Ratchet can never be judged in the US without an extradition treaty. I'll have to wait until he's in Paris to have him arrested.
Every compartment is taken for this special anniversary journey. It's impossible to find a ticket. What can I do? I could try to get on the train without a ticket, but I could end up arrested. And Ratchet could get away or get murdered. No, there's a better way. Let's find out who's traveling on the Orient Express. Time to call Braid.
Braid! It's me again.
I haven't found anything useful yet.
I need one last favor. But it's a big one.
Uh-oh.
Can you find me the list of passengers of the Orient Express for that anniversary trip?
Hold on. Jeez, their IT is surprisingly good. Maybe because of the big event. I found the list, but they sealed my back door as I was starting to capture it.
Oh no.
Whoa, calm down. I got one name. Female. The name I got before they kicked me off the server was Stacy Johnson. Do you feel like a Stacy Johnson?
The question is, how is she going to feel about helping me?
That's one you'll have to figure out for yourself. I gotta go back to weaving my magic on the web.
Hello, is this Stacy Johnson?
Who's asking?
My name is Joanna Locke. I'm a police detective.
And I'm just an actress. Now what did I do wrong?
Nothing. I need your help. I need to take your place in the Orient Express.
Is this a joke? No way.
I can get an arrest warrant if you don't cooperate.
You gonna pull it out of your hat? I've done nothing wrong. Lately. I'm hanging up. Goodbye.
Wait. Do you remember the Armstrong kidnapping?
Of course I do. That poor little girl.
I'm a police officer. I have a new lead that may help me find her killer.
Wait, didn't they prove it was the nanny?
I have found compelling new evidence. I've reopened my investigation.
You know, I had my doubts about the murderous nanny. I played a nanny a couple years ago in a slasher. I was killed in the first episode, but it got me interested in helping kids.
Stacy, please. You say you help kids?
Well, I joined a couple of associations who are trying to help underprivileged kids. If this little girl's real killer is still out there somewhere, I'd do anything I could to help.
Getting me on that train will help more than you can imagine.
So, you want my ticket for the Orient Express? But I booked it months ago. I was so much looking forward to this trip.
Stacy, I can tell you care about kids. Here's your chance to help put this beast in prison for the rest of his life. Think of the publicity for those causes you care about. Think about the kids.
The kids. Yeah. All right. We'll do it for Daisy and the kids who suffer. I'll take care of changing the tickets to your name and send it to you. Get him. Make him pay.
I will. Thank you so much.
Stacy was as good as her word. I received the ticket. I called my chief to let him know I was taking my vacation time. I had coming. I flew to Istanbul. I was finally going to nail the monster responsible for Daisy Armstrong's death, Michael Clark's death, even his accomplice, and, I suspected, so many others as well. You know the rest.
And that's how I found myself on this train, on Ratchet's trail. The rest, you know. My identity is easily checked with the Berkshire Police.
Thank you for your detailed account, Mademoiselle Locke. In addition to giving us crucial details of the investigation, you have made it clear that there are many who might wish to see Ratchet dead. I know you are innocent. Your forthright testimony and your movements, or lack of them, last night eliminate you from our list of suspects.
I agree, without a doubt. Another detective will be great help to the investigation.
Book.
Although my friend certainly does not need any help.
You are too kind.
Thank you for believing me. I'd like to help in any way I can.
Do not worry, Mademoiselle Locke. Already I see things more clearly. It's obvious whoever drugged you was trying to derail your investigation.
You mean the person who did this to me is Ratchet's killer?
Both Monsieur Michel and Fräulein Schmidt had the means and opportunity to drug you. While you get your strength back, I intend to interview them.
Excellent idea, my friend. All this excitement has whetted my appetite. I'm sure Mademoiselle Locke won't say no to a good, invigorating meal.
What? No. I want to hear what the conductor and Fräulein Schmidt have to say for themselves.
It is my duty to ensure the well-being of the passengers. If Dr. Constantine has no objection, I will escort you to the restaurant car.
On the contrary, some food will do her the greatest good.
Well, I'm still a little shaky. Mr. Poirot, will you please keep me informed about what you learn?
You may be certain of it. Good evening, Fräulein Schmidt. May I disturb you for a moment?
You asked so politely, mein Herr, but I do not think I have a choice.
I know you drugged Mademoiselle Locke's tea. Don't try to deny it.
Nevertheless, I do deny it.
I wanted to let you know that your roommate, Mademoiselle Locke, is awake.
Ah, yes, I'm glad to hear that. I was worried about her. Did she tell you what had happened to her?
Unfortunately, she doesn't remember much, but we found a residue of a sleeping pill in her cup of tea. Since you two were alone together in your room when she drank it, who else but you could have drugged her?
Must I point out I do not make the tea on this train? You should question the conductor or the kitchen staff.
Mademoiselle Locke could have died. Whoever drugged her must not feel any empathy for their fellow human beings, given the dose that Mademoiselle Locke ingested. She was close to death.
Oh my God. What did I do? I didn't want to hurt her. Just have her sleep for a few hours while we had time.
We? Time for what? Time for what, Madame Schmidt?
You think I feel nothing? Nothing? That poor little girl.
Indeed, that poor little girl. Fräulein Schmidt is somehow connected to the Armstrong case. I must admit I'm not right this time. I'm right again. That Fräulein Schmidt. I have a certain reputation for sniffing out...
I am not a murderer.
Forgive me, but I was going to say brilliant chefs. You were the Armstrong family's cook, were you not?
But... yes. I was the cook of that lovely, lovely family. I'm sorry, but I must ask you to give me some time to collect myself. It wasn't supposed to be like this. My darling, my poor darling child.
I will give you that time, Fräulein. You have given me much more in exchange. I must check in with my other suspects to make certain I have all the pieces of the puzzle in my possession.
Can I get you something, Monsieur Poirot? Everyone is so tense.
An aperitif soon, Monsieur Fauchet, with pleasure, when the matter is resolved. Good evening, Michel. Am I bothering you? You seem stressed.
With everything that's going on, I must admit it's difficult to be relaxed.
Of course, I understand. Especially since we know that Detective Locke's tea was drugged before it was served to her.
Detective?
Come now, Michel. Surely you would have taken the opportunity to search her things and found her badge. Luckily, she woke up and was finally able to tell us her story.
Otaru boiled the water, Jean made the tea. I just brought it. Sir, it could have been any of the staff.
Your defense is to accuse others? You have a network connection?
No, unfortunately. It's just an automatic reminder to pay my rent. I always forget, and my landlord complains.
Pierre Michel had to be involved in the murder. The drugged tea, his post at the end of the hall, and now I know why I know more than one of those people on the screen. Nice. Yes. Good. That was easy. You are the father of Suzanne Moreau, Daisy Armstrong's nanny. My condolences on the death of your wife.
What? But my wife...
Enough lies. Suzanne does not bear your name?
No. Suzanne's mother and I were divorced. Suzanne kept her mother's name.
My most sincere condolences, Monsieur Michel, on the deaths of Suzanne and your wife.
This job, I love them.
but I was never there for them. Then, a year after the divorce, Solange became ill. Suzanne took her to this special hospital in the US. Got that job as Daisy's nanny. I understand your pain, and the reason that led you to drug Detective Locke. We really can't hide anything from you, can we? Many have been foolish enough to try and keep the truth from Hercule Poirot. Yes, I admit, I drugged the tea. But it was only to keep her quiet, until I could... But she reacted so much to the sleeping pills. She was lucky, as are you, that she didn't die. To be frank, there is one more thing that puzzled me, but I think I understand now. You have a certain fondness for Monsieur Hardman, no? Cyrus is a good friend, and I appreciate him a lot, but it's not that. Cyrus was my daughter's fiancé. I almost consider Cyrus as my own son. Of course, much more is clear now. I have been patient long enough. It is time to go and see what all the commotion is next door. Monsieur Hardman, excellent. The gods who watch over detectives must have trapped you here.
Why didn't they watch over me? I'm a detective too. I was talking to Michelle about a leaky faucet, and I wanted to go out, but you showed up.
No need to invent some preposterous story.
But really,
Michelle has told me everything. You are the fiancé of Suzanne Moreau, his daughter.
Oh. I see.
Surely this is not a big surprise to you.
No. Suzanne was the only woman I ever loved. And I failed her. We got into a spat. It was nothing, but I was too proud to apologize. We weren't speaking at all. Suzanne never really cared for that guy, Noah. She would have forgiven me. If only. If only.
If only. A common refrain between lovers who quarrel. Obviously, Pierre Michel and Fräulein Schmidt both drugged Detective Locke's tea, causing the overdose. No wonder she had so much trouble waking up. Time to report my findings to her and Book. I wonder if our master chef gets his recipes from a game. Haha! Golden moustache.
So, my friend, tell me, you have something new?
Mademoiselle Locke, I know who drugged you. Fräulein Schmidt and our conductor, Pierre Michel, both admitted putting sleeping pills into your tea. This explains your overdose. They are relieved you are recovering.
Michel drugged a passenger? On behalf of the company, I offer my apologies to you, Mademoiselle Locke. Michel will answer for this outrage.
Both of them? I was pretty sure about Fräulein Schmidt, but I admit that I did not suspect the conductor.
I have uncovered multiple connections with the Armstrong case. Pierre Michel is the father of Suzanne Moreau, little Daisy's nanny, and Monsieur Hardman was Suzanne's fiancé. As for Hildegard Schmidt, she was the cook of the Armstrong family. What a coincidence, don't you think?
But it's incredible! What are the odds that so many people linked to that tragic affair ended up on the same train?
About the same as you winning the lottery, my friend.
I wasn't the officer who interviewed Fräulein Schmidt back then. So she couldn't recognize me here on the train. How could they know who I was?
There were other passengers who might have. Or she may have seen you when you visited the Armstrong home. It is now clear to me that some of the clues to this elaborate plot were staged for my benefit. Et voilà. Some clues and information collected so far could lead to a hypothesis. The murderer boarded the train in Vinkovsky, killed Ratchet, and then left the train immediately.
How did you come to that possibility?
Monsieur Hardman told me about a short man with a high-pitched voice who threatened Ratchet. Imagine for a moment that this man, wearing a wagon-lit conductor's jacket, killed him while Michel was on the platform at Vinkovsky. This murderer then hid the conductor's jacket in Detective Locke's room, then fled before the train left.
Why choose Detective Locke's room?
Why, indeed. Let me re-explain from the beginning. I'm right again.
Mon Dieu! Oui! That must be it! Everything fits so well!
It fits too well, my friend. Other clues lead to a second hypothesis, much more plausible. I must admit I'm not right this time. No, not good. I'm right again. That's so. We have multiple murderers, all related to the Armstrong case. The murderer from Vinkovsky was a fabrication to turn suspicion away from those on the train. They expected the investigation to be led by some small-town official who could easily be misled.
Mr. Poirot?
Detective Locke, forgive me. You are an obvious exception. You tracked Ratchet with the tenacity of a bloodhound. Unfortunately for the killers, they not only had you to deal with, but now they had, and I say this with all modesty, the world's greatest detective, Hercule Poirot, dropped into the midst of their meticulous planning.
Multiple murderers? Multiple detectives? Poirot, please take pity on me. Who is linked to this case, and who is not?
My poor friend, I have gone speeding out of the station without you. I will continue. Et voilà. Fräulein Schmidt, Pierre Michel, Monsieur Hardman, and Monsieur McQueen are all linked to the Armstrong case. I also know that Sonia Armstrong's sister and godmother, Countess Andreni and Princess Dragomirov, are on this train. And finally, Detective Locke discovered that Mr. Foscarelli was the Armstrong chauffeur.
If we add Detective Locke and Ratchet, of the 12 passengers in that coach, 9 have a connection with the Armstrong case. What next, Poirot? Or should I say, who next?
It is time to summon everyone.
Everyone? Even Dr. Constantine? The train crew other than Michel?
Dr. Constantine, yes. I will need him. But we don't want the others as witnesses.
I will see that their duties keep them occupied elsewhere.
Excellent. I have always thought this moment in a case is much like Rodin unveiling the thinker before a captivated audience. A work of art. Have you not felt that way, Detective?
No, Mr. Poirot. I'm happy just to slap the cuffs on him.
Well, there is some artistry in that as well, I suppose.
Where would you like the unveiling, Poirot? The lounge?
Perfect.
Then I will gather all the passengers in the lounge.
Monsieur Bouc, are the train crew locked in their quarters?
Yes, they are.
Then the stage is set for the final act. Ladies and gentlemen, I have gathered you together to hear my reconstruction of the murder of Samuel Edward Ratchet, also known as Cassetti. There is not one, but two possible solutions of the crime. I shall put them both before you, and I shall ask Monsieur Bouc and Dr. Constantine here to judge which solution is the correct one.
2 solutions?
Mr. Poirot, I am hardly qualified.
Nevertheless, your assistance is required. Now, you all know the facts of the case. Ratchet was found stabbed to death this morning. He was last known to be alive at 12:37 a.m. last night, when he spoke to the wagon-lit conductor through the door. His watch was found to be badly dented, and it had stopped at 1:15. Dr. Constantine, who examined the body, puts the time of death as having occurred between midnight and 2 in the morning. At half an hour after midnight, as you all know, the train ran into a snowdrift. After that time, it was impossible for anyone to leave the train. So, here is my first theory. The enemy, as Ratchet expected, joined the train at Vinkovsky by the door left open by Captain Arbuthnot and Monsieur McQueen, who had just descended to the platform. He was equipped with a wagon-lit jacket, which he wore over his ordinary clothes, and a pass key which enabled him to gain access to Ratchet's compartment in spite of the doors being locked. Ratchet was under the influence of a sleeping draught. This man stabbed him with great ferocity, 12 wounds in all. He left the compartment through the communicating door to Madame Hubbard's compartment.
Yes, that's so. Scared me half out of my wits.
The murderer thrust the dagger he had used into Mrs. Hubbard's handbag in passing. Without knowing it, he lost a button of his uniform. Then he slipped out of the compartment and along the corridor. He put the uniform jacket into Detective Locke's suitcase to cast suspicion on her. And a few minutes later, dressed in his ordinary clothes, he left the train just before it started off again, using the same means for egress, the door near the dining car. That is the first hypothesis. But there's a second. For that, we must examine the motive for the crime. Why was Ratchet killed? The motive is clear. Revenge, of course. Nothing was stolen, and we know that Ratchet had made many enemies. This was a premeditated crime, meticulously planned. since the kidnapping and death of little Daisy Armstrong, which traumatized many people close to the family. Even when the police concluded that it was Suzanne Moreau, questions remained. Detective Locke continued her investigation, as did others. They became convinced the truth lay elsewhere. We now know who the real murderer of Daisy is. It is clear now that Daisy's killer was Ratchet, also known as Cassetti and Michael Clark and how many other names. But of course, many of you have known this for a long time. It is obvious that the 12 stab wounds are not a random number. Dr. Constantine's analysis revealed that some stab wounds appeared to have been caused by a right-handed attacker. Others indicated the knife wielder was left-handed. Some wounds were deep, more than one fatal, yet others were not much more than mere scratches. What can explain these discrepancies? This leads us to an obvious conclusion. They are symbolic. Come now, Poirot. Daisy was 3 years old. 12 stabs. 12! The same number as a trial jury in the United States. But not just a jury of 12 members condemning him to death, but 12 executioners as well. This self-appointed jury had meticulously planned for everything except
snow.
Snow. The avalanche that stopped us, as well as the presence of not one but 2 detectives on the train. They had to improvise, to hastily add clues and false leads. The vial of vaping liquid incriminated Captain Arbuthnot. However, he had a solid alibi confirmed by Monsieur McQueen. Impossible then to suspect him. The conductor's jacket, found in Detective Locke's suitcase, was put there only to cast suspicion upon her. The time on Ratchet's broken watch was deliberately set to conceal the true time of the crime. This woman in a red kimono does not exist. I don't know which of the passengers it was. It does not really matter. It was just a performance, a charade to introduce another possible culprit to muddy the waters. All these false leads were intended for me. But I am Poirot. I understood the truth. We have a train full of suspects. It's time to identify who the real culprits are. Let's start with Detective Locke. Planting the conductor's jacket in her suitcase was an attempt to implicate Detective Locke, but she couldn't fake her drugged condition. Dr. Constantine can testify that the drugged tea incapacitated her for hours, and she had 2 relapses. Let us move on to Monsieur McQueen. When I told him about Cassetti, he looked very surprised that I managed to make the connection between him and the Armstrong case. He told me, "But I thought we had..." I think he meant, "You thought you didn't leave any real clues linking the murder to the Armstrong kidnapping. Moreover, you insisted that Ratchet did not speak French when you knew I had heard a voice calling out in French that was supposed to be Ratchet." I do not think that's the right answer. You took some pleasure in leaving me false clues, I think. It was quite annoying. But you told me yourself that your father was the district attorney who handled the Armstrong case.
The case haunted my father. At first, he believed Suzanne Moreau had helped her boyfriend, Noah, to kidnap Daisy, even though there were questions that went unanswered, and a young policewoman refused to let it go, continuing to find discrepancies, but never enough to reopen the official investigation.
That policewoman sits there. Her name is Joanna Locke.
Then tell him. Tell him how in the end my father believed you, how he resigned a job that he loved, racked with guilt that he may have let that monster go free. He died young, broken, his faith in justice broken. That's what Ratchet did to him.
Thank you for your honesty, Monsieur McQueen. Your father is one more victim of the man who called himself Ratchet. Now, I will turn to Ratchet's valet, Monsieur Masterman. I suspect that Ratchet was not a kindly employer. But that's not a good enough reason to kill him. Ratchet sensed danger close to him and naturally wanted to stay awake. You gave him sleeping pills without his knowledge. Once he was sound asleep, you could do what you had to do in peace.
Sir, I'll tell you the truth. I was Colonel Armstrong's adjutant in the war, sir, and afterwards, I was his valet in New York. I'm afraid I concealed the fact this morning. It was very wrong of me, sir, but I knew how suspicious it would look.
Is that all you have to say?
That's all, sir.
Now, to leave no suspicious stone unturned, let us move on to Monsieur Book.
What? Me? A suspicious stone?
His lofty position as director does not clear him of suspicion. Murderers can come in all shapes and sizes. Book, my friend, of course you are not guilty. You did everything you could to get me on this train. What madness would cause you to ensure, and I speak with all modesty, that the best detective in the world could be present to witness your crime?
But doesn't our friendship count as well?
Most assuredly, but a murderer can wear all sorts of masks, including friendship. Let us consider our ever-efficient wagon-lit conductor, Pierre Michel. No, that is his motive. I need real, tangible proof. Your admission that you drugged Detective Locke immediately incriminates you. But the murder could not have been possible without your very capable assistance. Your knowledge of train procedures made the murder possible, and your position in the corridor of the train allowed you to be the perfect alibi for several passengers. And your motive? Suzanne Moreau, Daisy Armstrong's poor nanny, who was wrongly accused and committed suicide, was your daughter.
C'est enfoiré. He got what he deserved. My poor daughter has finally been avenged. My Suzanne. My child.
Let's move on now to Monsieur Hardman, one of 3 detectives on this train. Monsieur Hardman, I think you are a real detective. But you were never hired by Ratchet. Your alibi was that you were watching the corridor to protect Ratchet, which, of course, you never did. You protected Pierre Michel. However, we just saw that his alibi doesn't hold up, so neither does yours.
I don't know about the conductor.
Being Suzanne's fiancé, you had a substantial motive to punish Ratchet. You used your detective skills, just as Detective Locke did, to hunt him down and finally avenge the death of your beloved.
That's right, Mr. Poirot. I do have some detective skills.
I never doubted it. Now, Fraulein Schmidt, the lady's maid with the soul of a cook. Fraulein Schmidt, you told me of your remorse for drugging Detective Locke. I believe you are sincere. However, as the cook of the Armstrong family, you experienced the drama from within. The death of Daisy, then Sonia Armstrong, who died in childbirth, and finally, Suzanne and John Armstrong.
So much misfortune in that poor family. The death of this criminal is only justice.
Let us move on to Countess Andrény. I was impressed by the earnestness of her husband when he swore to me solemnly on his honor that his wife never left her compartment that night. Should I believe it? Even if it seems logical, it's more complicated than that. I believe Countess Andrény. On the contrary, this fact gives her a motive for murder. Countess Andrény, being Sonia Armstrong's sister, you had every reason in the world to want to avenge her. But you were incapable of stabbing someone, even after what he had done to you and your family. The night of the crime, you simply took a sleeping pill. I appreciate the irony that nearby, Detective Locke was also in a drugged sleep. When you awoke, you thought the nightmare was over.
Rudolph?
Hush, my love. Hush.
Excellent transition. I was coming to you, Count Andrény. "12 people, a jury. This was very important to all of you. If Countess Andrény did not stab Ratchet, someone had to take her place. And you, Count, the beloved husband. I've seen how fiercely you love and protect your wife."
Enough! I would do anything for Helena. Anything. Even that.
Yes, even that. Let's move on to Monsieur Foscarelli. Detective Locke found out that you were the Armstrong chauffeur, and that you planned to travel on the same train at the same time as Ratchet. That is what made her decide to obtain a ticket as well. Unfortunately, she could not prevent the murder. Have you lost your tongue, Mr. Foscarelli?
Oh, Daisy. She was the delight of the house. Tonio, she called me. And she would sit in the car and pretend to drive me.
And you, Mademoiselle Olson, a champion for the immigrants, a worthy calling. Mademoiselle Olson, you supported Madame Hubbard's story about her connecting door latch, a story that I later demonstrated to be impossible. So, you deliberately lied to me, and you also lied about Mademoiselle Debenham's whereabouts.
Enough! I can't take this anymore! I know what you want from me, Mr. Poirot. Very well. Here it is. She was my little Daisy, my angel, so patient. When I patched a scrape or took her temperature. That was my job, but she was so much more to me. She was a shining light in an ever-darkening world. I've tried to honor her by caring for children who have lost everything.
Thank you, Mademoiselle Olsen. You too shed light on your part in this mystery. Suzanne Moreau was Daisy's nanny. You were Daisy Armstrong's nurse. I will ask you no more questions. It is enough that you have admitted what I know to be the truth, and I understand. Let's move on. Dr. Constantine.
You suspect me? I know none of these people. I didn't know Ratchet either, and I've taken a solemn oath to help people, not murder them.
Now really, Poirot, he has helped you get to the truth, not hidden it. Dr. Constantine was certainly helpful to my investigation, but that does not prove he is innocent. You are one of the few people in this room not to have any connection with the Armstrong case. Moreover, your alibi is confirmed by Monsieur Bouc, whom I would trust with my life.
That is very kindly said, my friend.
We now come to Mademoiselle Debenham and Captain Arbuthnot, whose relationship was not in doubt from the moment I inspected your room at the hotel.
You have a bloody nerve.
Indeed, I do.
We're getting married.
Congratulations. But I would rather talk about your relationship to John Armstrong. That was easy. Captain Arbuthnot, you served in the army with John Armstrong. What I don't understand is why a man your age is still a captain. One might expect you to be a colonel as well.
Ever fought in a war, Poirot?
It was war that first brought me to England.
Then you know what it's like. There's a shattering sound, and death, and mistakes, acting on intelligence that proved to be wrong. I sent a patrol to their death. Good men, brave men, wasted. John testified on my behalf at a court-martial. I'm not a colonel. I don't deserve to be, you bloody fool. But I'm also not in prison. John remained my best friend until... There, you have my story. Understand now?
Archie, calm down, please.
You're right, Mary. What you see in me, I don't understand.
Oh, Archie, I see in you what John saw.
Miss Debenham, I'm sorry.
My turn, is it?
I'm afraid so. And you have caused me quite a puzzlement. Your connection with the Armstrong family was not obvious. Then I remembered the job you currently hold. No. I must have... Et voilà. You were the teacher of... No, she was the teacher of Countess Andrény. You were the teacher of Helena Andrény, whose maiden name was Helena Goldenberg before she married Count Andrény.
Yes, absolutely. Why lie to you? She was an excellent student.
Captain Arbuthnot. No, his vial found at the crime scene was a decoy. The fact that he probably killed enemies during the war does not make him a cold-blooded murderer. You had one of the strongest alibis, thanks to Mr. McQueen, but his testimony melted like a snowflake. There went your alibi. Poof! Unless you have another one. As for you, Mademoiselle Debenham, yes, I remember overhearing Mademoiselle Debenham talking with the captain at Circetchi station. She said, "Not now, not now, when it's all over." That's significant in light of what we now know, but not enough to incriminate her. Mademoiselle Olsen was the only one who could confirm your alibi. I think you know where you stand.
Very good, Mr. Poirot. Are you satisfied?
I will be soon. Now I must turn to Sonia Armstrong's godmother, Princess Dragomirov. Princess Dragomirov, you weren't on my list of suspects at the start, given your social position.
I left my social position in a cold country.
Do you object to being addressed as Princess?
I deny people the opportunity. It makes a good story to tell their friends. It also guarantees a good table in the best restaurants.
Princess, there is also, forgive me, your extreme physical fragility.
It does not stop me when I must be strong.
Indeed. Of more importance, though, is the fact that you're the only left-handed person on the train. And the single blow to Ratchet from a left-handed person was very, forgive me, weak. Finally, I'm afraid I know the alibi that you shared with Fraulein Schmidt is false.
You have been very thorough, sir. I hope you will permit me to say we are much alike.
I am honored. Now it is time to end with Mrs. Hubbard, or should I say, Linda Arden. If Princess Dragomirov hadn't told me about her relationship with this famous actress, I might not have made the connection. But you are a great actress, madame. Your performance as a flighty, self-involved woman was superb. I never would have guessed something entirely different. As for what ties you to the Armstrong family, it is obvious. Must it? This is wrong, but I'm never far from the truth. That's the right answer. Mrs. Hubbard, you are the mother of Sonia Armstrong and Mrs. Andreni. Madame Hubbard, you really are a remarkable actress. You put so much effort into your character and into staging the murder. I saw it as a perfect mosaic, each person playing his or her allotted part, so carefully arranged that if suspicion should fall on any one person, the evidence of one or more of the others would clear the accused person and confuse the issue. Everything was meticulously planned. But you hadn't expected that Detective Locke and I would be on this train, and the avalanche would block it on the night of the murder. You had to improvise. But again, improvisation would be another of your skills as an actress. So you came up with the story that the latch on the door that communicated with Ratchet's compartment was hidden by the handbag.
I always fancied myself in comedy parts. That slip about the sponge bag was silly. Shows you should always rehearse properly. You know all about it, Mr. Poirot. You're a very wonderful man, but even you can't quite imagine what it was like. That awful day, I was just crazy with grief. So were the servants. We decided then and there that the sentence of death that Ratchet had escaped had got to be carried out. There were 12 of us, or rather 11. Suzanne's father was over in France, of course. First we thought we'd draw lots as to who should do it, but in the end we decided on this way. It was the driver, Antonio, who suggested it. Mary worked out all the details later with Hector McQueen. It took a long time to perfect our plan. We first had to track Ratchet down. Hardman managed that in the end. Then we had to try and get Edward and Hector into his employment. Well, we managed that. Then we had a consultation with Suzanne's father. Captain Arbuthnot was very keen on having 12 of us. He seemed to think it made it more orderly. He didn't like the stabbing idea much, but he agreed that it did solve most of our difficulties. Well, Suzanne's father was willing. Suzanne had been his only child. We knew from Hector that Ratchet would be coming back from the east, sooner or later, by the Orient Express. With Pierre Michel actually working on that train, the chance was too good to be missed. My daughter's husband had to know, of course, and he insisted on coming on the train with her. Hector wrangled it so that Ratchet selected the right day for traveling when Michel would be on duty. And then, at the last minute, you came. For the rest of the story, you worked out everything, Mr. Poirot. You were right about all of us. What are you going to do about it? If it must all come out, can't you lay the blame upon me, and me only? I would have stabbed that man 12 times willingly. It wasn't only that he was responsible for my daughter's death, and her child's, and that of the other child who might have been alive and happy now. It was more than that. There had been other children kidnapped before Daisy, and there might be others in the future. Society had condemned him. We were only carrying out the sentence, but it's unnecessary to bring all these others into it, all these good, faithful souls.
You are a director of the company, Monsieur Bouc. What do you say?
In my opinion, Poirot, the first theory you put forward was the correct one. Decidedly so. I suggest that that is the solution we offer to the police. You agree, Doctor?
Certainly, I agree. As regards the medical evidence, I think that I made one or two fantastic suggestions.
Then, having placed my solution before you, I have the honor to retire from the case.
I'm sorry to wake you up in the middle of the night, Poirot, but it couldn't wait. There was a detail that bothered me in my preliminary autopsy of Ratchet's body. I went back to examine the body and I discovered a wound covered by another. The blow I hadn't seen was delivered by a thinner, sharper blade. So there were not 12, but 13 stab wounds.
12 stabs for 12 jurors. It doesn't work with 13 wounds. The symmetry is destroyed.
It can't be one of the culprits who stabbed him twice?
Doctor, a different knife was used. There is only one explanation. Somehow, some way, there is a 13th murderer on this train. We must tell Bouc. The case is not solved. Please, come in. Ah, book. I see we are moving at last.
Yes. The way was finally cleared while we slept. If all goes well, we will arrive in Venice this evening. The train will be there for several hours for refueling and reprovisioning. What do we do with the 13th murderer? Do you have a lead?
I thought about it. There is one clue that was left aside in my investigation. The diary I found in Ratchet's safe mentioned an appointment in Venice. Someone with the initials A.W. He will never keep the appointment. But there should be enough time. I must try to keep that appointment for him. I do not think that's the right answer. No, not good. I do not think that's the right answer. I must admit I'm not right. I'm right again. That happens to me a lot.